Oh, bother.
Hello my friends, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Newsday. I'm your host Yin Yang Total War, and today is February the 13th. Now, I know that most of you are probably waiting on bated breath for the patch 4.2 update with Kislev and Tzeentch coming here soon, but this episode is not going to be about that. What we're instead going to be talking about is some of the more beautiful things that you might have missed, which I thought might be thematic since tomorrow is Valentine's Day for those who celebrate. But enough of me rambling, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Okay, and kicking things off, we've got Natasha, whose last name I'm not going to pronounce because I don't want to butcher that today. But haunted since her infancy from otherworldly visions and delusions of grandeur, Natasha believes herself to be the daughter of Tsar Balka, in the belief that she has as much right to the throne as the so-called Tsarina Katerin. She has marched south at the head of an army, departing Stormrack Mount to capture her rightful throne. Now, this lady would make a great companion for our demon prince, Yuri, or whatever you want to call him, Daniel. But before we look at her faction effects, let's go ahead and take a look at the map. Now, she's going to be starting here up around where Archaon starts. You're probably going to want to depart that area pretty quickly if you want to avoid a fight with Archaon. If not, you can wipe him out, of course, and then make your march south at your own leisure. Now, going back to her lore details, we've got some pretty strong faction effects, maybe a little overpowered. Beloved Pretender. When a Kislevite city is sacked or razed, a Winter Palace Pretender army will appear to demand retribution. Benevolent Ruler. When sacking a city, the city can be gifted to minor Kislevite factions. Diplomatic relations plus 40 with the Empire, Kislev, Cathay, and Bretonia, plus 20 per turn in devotees. Attribute immune to psychology for Khazars, and then physical resistance plus 5 for Khazar units. And if you're like, why is she getting all these bonuses, these diplomatic bonuses with the races of men? Well, let's jump over to what the mod authors have to say about her. So, Natasha has been promoted to leading her own faction, the Winter Palace Pretenders. She has a few new mechanics and a focus on vassalizing the minor Kislevite factions as she makes a play for the Winter Throne. Some Kislevites have come to fight by her side, and more will join her once she has captured the Winter Palace. She has also spread her tendrils across the motherland, causing uprisings when the boyars fail in their duties of keeping Kislev safe. So, as you can see, she is going to be a very interesting campaign. It definitely could be a really cool playthrough, especially if you're wanting to do like a head-to-head Tsarina Katerin versus Natasha, who is definitely based off of Anastasia, right? But like I said, she is a very cool faction. I forgot to read her lord effects, so let's do that right now. She's got allegiance points gained plus 100% for all alliances with Kislev, and diplomatic relations plus 40 with minor Kislevite factions, as well as Slanesh corruption plus 3. Now, if that doesn't say a little overpowered, she's got plus 80 relations with Kislevite factions. She's more loved than Katerin or Rasputin. I can't remember his real name. But, you know, this is going to be a very interesting campaign, and I would love to sink my teeth into it here hopefully soon. But today we're going to be taking a quick look at some of the maps that you might have missed that came out from the modding community. So let's get into that. All right, and jumping in here, we've got the Castle of Corone. And before we really get into it, I just want you to take a look at that. Now, you might say, oh, well, I could see all that before. Well, no, not exactly. This is actually playable territory. Now, not the entire map, right? But all of these big landmarks that you're seeing, it's playable. So let's take a look, and you can just see that this settlement was much more well designed for the kinds of fighting that the Bretonnians do. You're going to have wide streets for strong cavalry charges, but you're also going to have a moat. You've got your normal walls, and then you've got secondary walls that you can mount up on. You've got the grand chapel, I believe, to the lady. You've also got the tourney grounds, and you can actually go into the tourney grounds. Let me see if I can grab a unit real quick, and I'll show you. You can actually go in to the tourney grounds and fight over them if you wish. This is totally 100% playable. Now, going for the major landmark itself, the actual Castle of Corone, you can see that it is magnificent to behold. And you can actually go inside of it. It goes all the way in, and even to the throne itself. This is what we should have gotten when we got this game. And there's King Lewin right there in front of his throne. Now, you can't go sit on the throne, but I'd say that this is pretty good work regardless. So let's go ahead and get into our next map. Okay, and next up we've got Castle Drachenfels. And if I didn't mention it before, these maps are all, or at least mostly, by FSF Ranger. So definitely go check out his workshop. I'll be posting a link down to it below. But as you can see, this is another gorgeous map. And unlike Castle Corone, which was clearly designed for cavalry charges and maneuvers, this one is very narrow. So if you play a defensive faction, or a faction that can hold the enemy in place while you zap them to death with magic, this is going to be the castle that you want to defend. It's all very narrow. There's only one pathway up to the victory point, and you're going to have to fight for every single inch of this, well, beautiful map. Let's zoom out to speed up just a little bit more. But like I said, as you can see, it is just a gorgeous map. We've got a kind of marketplace right here. Not sure who's selling their wares at Castle Drachenfels, but hey, more power to them. And finally, we come up on the actual castle courtyard itself. Unfortunately, unlike Corone, you cannot go into this one, but it is very cool nevertheless. Okay, and coming on to our next city, it's going to be Mordheim, City of the Damned. As you can see, it is huge, but also tightly packed. There's not going to be many angles where you can really attack the city from. You're going to have to go through one of the gates, and that is part of the magic. Once you get into the gates, you're going to have courtyards, but you're also going to have very tight alleyways, which can be used for ambushes and all kinds of other stuff. Now you can see they've got this gorgeous courtyard here as well, and this all looks a whole lot, if not a exact mirror of the actual city itself in the game Mordheim, and you know, the tabletop game as well. And then finally, as we make our way into the ruins of the city, we're also going to have this giant crater. Of course, you're not going to be able to fight in it, but just look at that. Now, how CA hasn't been able to make maps like this is beyond me. If the modding community can do it, CA can surely do it. And you guys know I'm pretty quick to jump to CA's defense on what they can and can't do. But I mean, this is magnificent, and they should definitely incorporate something like this into the main game as well. We got to start getting those maps that you know, those maps for unique cities like this. Anyway, let's go somewhere a little bit more sunny this time in our next map. And coming back with another one of these highly defensible and beautiful cities, we've got Hanyu Port. And as you can see, it is huge and magnificent at the same time. This city will provide Cathayans with a very strong point in which they can provide supporting fire at all levels. So I mean, like I said, it's just fantastic. There's the actual port there, You can't play with it, of course, but you can actually see some real ships in the background, so that's awesome. We've also got, I mean, it just goes layer upon layer upon layer, all the way up until you reach the top, which is going to be the Heavenly Garden over here. And then we've got a beautiful water feature if you want to defend that as well. And we've got our girl Yin Yin over here hanging out by the pond doing lightning backflips or whatever she likes to do. So let's go ahead and get into the final map before we take off. And behold Al Haik, a city that is not only gorgeous, but one that I hope that we get to defend on the campaign someday. And just looking at this city, it is so well done, down to the details, the statues. Who put that gin there? I have no idea, but it's fantastic. It's got a grand bazaar with a water feature. If you like narrow streets, it's got that. If you like wider streets, it's also got those as well. And then for secondary fallback points, if you're charging up these stairs, you can expect to be shot to hell. Now, the coolest feature, and before I overlook it, there's the port right there, but the coolest feature is going to be that it has the same kind of palace as Corone, where you can actually go within. And man, when I say well done, it is very well done. And here is the throne room itself, with the great Sultan and his personal guard waiting to welcome you. And that's going to be it for this section. So let's go ahead and wrap things up with some things to look forward to. And wrapping things up, we've got some really interesting stuff coming up in a mod by the Skeleton Crew. Now, these are the guys who also make legendary characters, so you know that they release quality stuff. But let's take a look at some of these things. So it's going to be more legendary lords, more new factions, really just continuing to flesh out this world in case Creative Assembly wasn't doing it fast enough for you. So this first one is going to be Adela of the Thousand Mouths, also called King Adela. She is the current ruler of the Norscan settlement of Skeggi, located on the continent of Lustria. She is a worshiper of Tzeentch, the chaos god of change and intrigue, who has blessed her with 1,000 of half-inch holes, which pepper her flesh and whisper new plans and murmur support whenever she speaks before a crowd. Adela has a cruel streak and likes to kill people slowly and publicly, which make clear examples of those who get in her way. And she has a fantastic model. I cannot wait to see what she's like in campaign, the kinds of stuff that she can get into. Now let's take a look at the next one. Now this ripped monster here is going to be the Sorrel Huntress Berna. Now, since birth, she has been marked by the gods with a tongue as black as a crow's feather, long, thin, and fluted like a bird's, from which she can give out a trilling note that creatures of the sky can understand and be understood by her. Such was the case when she called upon a murder of crows to torment a mighty beast lord who shriveled and collapsed as countless black crows feasted on his helpless body. Now, if you're thinking she would be a really cool character to take up against the Murder Queen, I agree. That would be a really cool head-to-head campaign, a little Norska versus Albion action, and I hope that they pursue that. Now, looking at our next one, I don't actually have any lore on this individual. Don't know who she is. I could not gather enough information, but there is there's so much cool stuff coming and so much to look forward to. And I can't wait to see what's coming next. So that's going to be where we leave things for today. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode, and to all my friends wherever you are, good morning, good evening, and good night. I'll see you next time, hopefully later today or even tomorrow.